It's time for a championship finale. It's time for a season's winner to be crowned. And what better place than beautiful Watkins Glen to do it? This is the championship decider, the end of the road for this season of 60 plus racing adventures, season 16. We have beautiful Pro Mazda cars ready to get underway for 2 races tonight. And at the end, hopefully, we'll get to speak to a winner. I'm David Haynes. It's Paul Smith with me. He's also producing with the cameras by Istvan Bello. Well, it all started this season in September at Road Atlanta. We went all over the world. We broadcast the opening round and round 6 here on RaceSpot. In the meantime, since we last checked in, they've been to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, they've been to Interlagos, they've been to Mid-Ohio, Barber, and Mosport. And it all comes down to here, round 12 at Watkins Glen. And these are the men at the head of the field. Those vying for the crown, for the glory, and maybe just the bragging rights as well. Russ Addy is the points leader by the finest of margins over Donald Fitterer, Stefan Roastgen, John Morgan, Mike McCormick, Paul Stump, David Sistello, Leroy Coppage, Randy Shoemaker, Kenneth Baldwin, and with 46 points up for grabs, I think any one of the top 8 at a minimum are a mathematical chance. But you have to say Russ Addy, Donald Fitterer, Stefan Roastgen, the most likely, seeing as the way the drop rounds and drop points work within the round tonight. Russ Addy can take a win and seal this. Donald Fitterer and those other drivers, well, they need a bit of luck on their side.
Certainly do. And hello everybody. Yeah, this should be a thrilling race, and Watkins Glen, I mean, what can be said that isn't already said about this circuit? We're using the boot without the chicane, so slipstreaming is going to be a key down after the S's. When you've climbed up through the S's, getting the slipstream all the way towards the carousel and then down the chute into the toe of the boot. Some great overtaking opportunities, and you always get thrilling races around this venue. I'm really looking forward to tonight's 2 races.
Right, Formula 1 Grand Prix, NASCAR road courses, IndyCar, IMSA of course for the Watkins Glen 6 hours, not this year but in future and in past hopefully. What hasn't raced here and what hasn't put on fantastic action around this classic historical circuit, and of course the classical layout as well, missing that chicane before the carousel. Qualifying is just wrapping up at this very minute before we get ready to go for race 1. And of course, let's talk about what's very, very important in this finale, the points structure. We're going to have 2 races, but for the championship, drivers take whichever is their best result of the 2 rounds. That means a win in either race could wrap it up.
Certainly could. Russ Addy will be aiming for that. Traditionally, whenever we've broadcasted these races, Russ hasn't always been the greatest of qualifiers, but then we've seen him really charge through the field. I would say here at this circuit with this particular layout, qualifying pole isn't the be all and end all of this race, really, is it? It's really about using that slipstream, and I mean, you can see the times as they stand. There are one or two still putting laps in around the track, but yeah, this is it's going to be an action-packed couple of races coming up here, and well, we'll get a look at the grid very shortly indeed, but yeah, perfect conditions for plenty of action out there.
Yeah, exactly. We had a look at those conditions earlier. About 20 degrees in the air, about 35-ish on the track. Not super baking hot, but not super cold either. In qualifying was Donald Fitterer, who had the best pace out there. Couple tenths clear of Paul Stump in second. Stefan Rostjen, multiple-time champion, in third. Mike McCormack going to start in fourth position. Will be a rolling start after our pace lap. John Morgan is in fifth. Russ Addy starting out of sixth. There and thereabouts at the front, but would need to move forward to wrap this one up in race one. Don Poole is in 7th, Randy Shoemake is in 8th. In 9th place, we've got Kenneth Bolden on the grid, Leroy Coppage in 10th, Joel Martin in 11th, and it's Barry Hills in 12th.
13th then for Bruce Granheim, with Greg Garris in 14th place. David Sestella, who we've seen, seems to have a love-hate relationship with this car. He seems to do well, seems to then not have good races. 15th ahead of Bruce Poole. Then Greg Gilman, Ragnar Wisloff in 18th ahead of Jack Turner and Dev Donnelly, rounded out your top 20. Kenneth Dummer with Bob Cohen, William Moulsby and Franz Brink round out your top 24.
We've got a big grid, but we've got plenty of time to get through them. Here's the rest of the field just about. Michael Bailey, Douglas Beasley, Gerhardus Jorison, Urs Muller, Richard Varley, John Unsby, Vince Ball, Richard Coulomb, as you see the field start to get away for our full formation pace lap. And then in 33rd, we've got Ian Wilson, then Louis Cannell, Richard Franco, Robert Isle, Jerry Kerr, Gerard Florison, Oyvind Anderson, Paulo Bonacera, Gene Moore, and Sam Weinmiller. I might be seeing something slightly different there. Right, I think Moore and Weinmiller, no times. Which order they exactly start on the back row probably doesn't matter greatly. My timing software was generating them in a different order than the graphics overlay. But here we go. So talk about the car. Open wheeler. Very well handling. A little bit of downforce. Slick tyres on them. But not a great, huge deal of aerodynamics or power. They really do slipstream very, very well. Like a lot of entry-level and stepping stone open wheelers do.
Yeah, this Indy Pro car, the PM18, fantastic car, really. It's not got the most aerodynamic grip, so you know the wings do play an effect, but not to the biggest amount. So you can follow cars in this car. It's not, as you say, not the most high capacity engine in these cars, so you've really got to think about carrying the momentum through corners, and corners like that, the carousel, where you really throw it in there, hug it in, run it out wide down the chutes here. It's just a classic track. I mean, you look at all those cars working their way around, but yeah, these drivers, they've got a challenge, and as I said earlier, Donald Fitterer, yes, he's qualified pole, which is, you would prefer to start in pole position, but around this track, it's not, if you can make a breakaway and break the draft, you're brilliant, you can pull away at the front. But if you've got a queue of cars behind you and you can't break that draft, good luck holding on to the win.
You imagine that around a circuit like this, it'll play out a lot like a Tour de France cycling stage, where for the first half of the event, you really just want to be around about the front half of the field, not getting tripped up or getting in any trouble, and then right in the second half towards the end, really got to show what you've got, make some moves to get some points. And of course, 60 Plus Racing Adventures is for the seasoned sim racers of 60 years of age or older. And you might think esports, you know, it's young, it's youthful, and to a certain extent it is, but it really isn't just pigeonholed there. We've got over 40 drivers, almost all of them older than my dad, ready to get underway with some fantastic racing action. They're passionate about it, they love it, they show up in numbers, and they're about to get racing for race 1 from Watkins Glen. The pace car comes in, and your pole sitter wastes absolutely no time. They all roar into life down towards turn 1, hoping for 20 clean laps of Watkins Glen.
See how they go then, through turn 1.
Oh, that's Roastin with a huge wiggle. Cold tyres, of course, a big consideration on the opening lap here. You've got to wait a little while before you can really push these cars.
Yeah, Roastin being hung out to dry a little bit. Everybody else seems to be running okay. It seems to be getting through fine. So, for the time being, drivers working their way up the hill towards the carousel. It's quite a steep hill, is that? The slipstream really does work wonders for you. As we've got a car in the wall, that's Randy Shoemaker. Oh, and he's been collected.
I think that's Costello there as well. Pieces across the track. And that is not a good lap 1 whatsoever. High closing speeds towards the carousel. A little bit banking, a little bit banked, a little bit slippery there. We're going to catch a replay of what's happened for Randy Shoemaker right at the front of the field. He's on the outside.
Yes, John Morgan, he was on the outside there, and he's just running it out wide. Oh, Morgan's just come up a little bit. Oh, so easy to do with the cold tyres in the air. Costello, absolutely nothing that he could do there.
No, a little bit blind on the entry as well, so that does come down a little bit to John Morgan, eager on the inside, just picking up a little bit of understeer. Paul Stump. He's had a good opening lap though. He's gotten to the lead from second on the grid. Your pole sitter Donald Fitterer still in line, still in second. You want to be patient at this point, but then the rest all follow in a line. Mike McCormick, Russ Addy's moved it up a couple positions into 4th as well. That is ever so critical. I think a first or a second, depending on where his other rivals are, in race 1 might be enough to wrap up the championship. So he just needs to be cool, calm and collected in race 1.
Certainly does. Needs to be careful though. In the slipstream, Paul Stump pulling out. He knows that he's not going to get the lead, so Fitterer to the front. And this is what you're going to see all the way along this race. And look at this now, they're sort of becoming sort of boxed in a little bit. McCormick having to work with his teammate a little bit here. So you see Fitterer and McCormick in the matching liveries. And then Stump and Addy sort of against them two. They've already broken a little bit away from John Morgan, although not completely there.
You wonder if there's maybe a tiny bit of front wing damage or something else for John Morgan, because he did have that wheel-to-wheel contact. And then Roastin, who was all out of sorts, turn 1, lap 1, trying to work his way back up. He qualified 3rd. He's running at 8th right now. He's basically the only driver in the top 10 or top 15 right now who's lost more than one position off the start.
We've
trying to work back up.
Jerry Kerr. Jerry Kerr's gone back to the pits. He's taken a tour. That's why you just see him on the left-hand timer as being in first place. He's actually in the pits at the moment.
Yeah, shortly I guess they'll delete his lap time and the timing will update to be a true representation of the state of the race as it is right now. That's where the green flag was waved not long ago. Your flagman Barney is able to just take a little bit of a rest for the moment and make sure he's ready with that checkered flag in about 17 laps. That still feels quite a long way away for our competitors though. We saw what a massive head of steam last lap Russ Addy had at this section of the track. Nowhere to go. Boxed in, as you mentioned. Is he happy to still ride in 4th? Or is it time to start moving forward?
Well, Mike McCormack is thinking of moving forward. Fitterer has pulled away a little bit. Oh, Addy, look at how much he's closing up to the back of McCormack's car there. Incredible scenes between the two of them. McCormack now to the inside at the chute. But Stump, if he hangs it out around the outside, will hold on to that place. Russ Addy trying to go to the middle. He's desperate to get ahead of these two, because he can see at the front Donald Fitterer is pulling away. And
John Morgan and Poole are attached to the train as well here. Addy had a lot of speed and just nowhere to go every time they've come to the carousel or the laces of the boot or even the toe of the boot, I think it was that time. Just nowhere to carry the speed and try to get around someone for him just yet. And is it possible Fitterer could get away? He's second in the championship right now, Donald Fitterer, so a win would be very, very valuable to him, especially if Addy stays in 4th position. We are going to, I guess, pencil in the numbers as we go, see what the championship is looking like. At the moment, this is a good race for Donald Fitterer with 1.5 seconds lead.
Yeah, it's going to be a real back of an envelope sort of mathematics happening right here as both McCormick and Addy running wide. John Morgan not that far behind them, so he's got the slipstream back. Stefan Rostron has made his way past Baldwin, so is now heading towards Donald Poole in the background of that shot. Your race leader though, 1.3 seconds. He's very close to breaking that slipstream, and we've seen previously with single-seater cars, open-wheel cars, here on iRacing, once they break that slipstream, it's very difficult for those following to try and catch up.
Especially if they keep fighting as they were for a couple laps. Back here, it's settled down a little bit. Stump is trying to follow along with Fitterer. McCormick maybe a tiny bit the cork in the bottle at the moment. 42 cars were on the entry list. Looks as if 39 are still on the lead lap, so everywhere you look around the track, it is going to be this draft pack racing. Everyone eyes on stalks early in the race.
Greg Garris, Bruce Granheim, they've swapped positions on this lap. They're having a nice little battle because there's them two. There's also Greg Gilman and Bruce Poole together with them in a little 4-way pack. So they'll be carrying on battling, although it looks like Granheim's just not quite got the pace. And Gilman is trying to work his way past. Don't forget as well, important thing to mention here as well, it's a fixed setup session, so every car has got the same setup here. So it's all about the driving talent, the person behind the wheel.
Right, just removes one more variable. Also, in an open setup, the temptation is always to go towards a lower downforce, more trimmed out, sketchier setup than maybe doesn't race as cleanly or as well. With a fixed setup, they can crank on a little bit more downforce, keep everyone a little closer, and make sure everyone is in a setup that is, you know, stable to maybe a little bit pushy.
Yeah, it really does sort of help even out the field. I mean, don't forget though that the setup will suit some people more than others out there. So it's that payoff. It's that payoff as to some people prefer a car that's a little bit more nervous, that can twitch around a little bit. They like that movement, whereas some drivers, they like that stability. Like, they don't mind a little bit of push, as it's called in America, a little bit of understeer, and just help them keep that back end in check. One thing that we haven't really touched on here, David, as well, it's the iRacing default weather, which always means in these races, rear tyres, they get a working, and those rear tyres towards the end of the race just start giving away a little bit of grip towards the end.
Yeah, exactly. The first 1 or 2 laps, you're waiting on the tyres to warm up, and then they're pretty good for quite a while. You're exactly right. Track temperature continuing to rise to 36 degrees Celsius. Eventually, towards the end of the race, you won't be able to push it quite as hard as you're able to right now. We've had about just 3 or 4 drivers be able to put a lap time into the 1:39s. Don Fitterer has the fastest lap right now. So they're going to go side by side here. Ross Addy, John Morgan's going to have to wait. Mike McCormick on the inside, I think, just eases out of it a little bit, and that's Russ Addy, championship leader, up into 3rd.
Yeah, he needed to do that because Donald Fitterer has pulled away now. He's 2 seconds ahead of Paul Stump at the moment in this race, and Russ Addy now, he's 0.7 of a second behind Paul Stump. As you mentioned, David, at the start of this broadcast, a second or a first would work really well for Russ Addy. towards his championship. So yeah, you never know what will happen here, but this is good. Overall, some nice clean racing so far.
Yeah, 3 points between Fitterer and Stump, and a 5-point swing between first and second. 45 points for first, 40 points for second. They finished as they are right now. Would put Donald Fitterer into the lead of the championship. I'm trying to do numbers and words at the same time, and it's a real struggle, but the way they run at the moment, put Donald Fitterer into the lead of the championship would force Russ Addy to have to take a win in race 2 to be champion. There is still so long to go in this race, so long to go in this round. These are the things you've got to keep in your mind. Donald Fitterer, second in the championship, but leading this race, is doing all he can and needs to do at the moment.
That's exactly a good point there, David. That all he can do is do what he can control, and what he can control is his performance here. So him getting a win here would give him the best opportunity possible. But the rest of the drivers, you know, they've got to work their way through. One little mistake, one little incident here in this championship and in this race could have serious consequences for them. So yeah, we'll see how they get on. But Russ Addy now ahead of Stump, who's actually fallen down another place because Mike McCormack also made it past as well. McCormack needs to do his teammate a little bit of a favour here, doesn't he? He needs to try and slow him down, or even get in front of Russ Addy, just to try anything he can to keep Addy from getting towards Fitterer.
Absolutely, just send it down the inside at Russ Addy at the carousel every single lap between here and the end would really help Donald Fitterer. I think now he's gotten up into second. Russ Addy's really putting the hammer down. He's looking very, very quick.
Now, what about traffic? Because there has been a few drivers head onto pit road, and they are going to be catching up to Ian Wilson, I believe. We've got a car it's Douglas Beasley. No. Oh, and there's a car that's gone off in sympathy with him as well, which was Robert Earl. We'll try and get a replay of this up on screen for you, but yeah, Douglas Beasley, he's had enough one who's had a bit of a love-hate relationship with this car, isn't he?
Certainly, we're going to see about it. Some of the more difficult corners on the track is actually down here. He hooks just a little bit of the curb, he slows up, and then he gets helped as well.
So he does, and then Earl just decides to go off in sympathy. Nothing he could do there, so Beasley gets back up underway. He's heading to the pits. We're back to this lead battle. Donald Fitterer, by the way, now 3 seconds ahead of this battle for second place.
Yeah, the way it's going like this, Russ Addy is under fire. He's not going to be able to close up to Donald Fitterer when he's got Mike McCormack taking a stab at him, taking a look here, there, and everywhere. This is precisely what Fitterer needs, precisely what Russ Addy doesn't. This is Miley's favourite corner. How ambitious do you want it from Stump?
That's brave. He saw an opportunity, did Stump. Ever the opportunist right there, and through he goes, and if McCormack's not careful, he could fall back a bit more. No, Donald Poole isn't quite close enough to take advantage of that. We've got a slow car heading onto pit road right when the lead pack is coming round. That's not ideal, but this has allowed Addy to make a bit of a breakaway from this pack. Now, if he's not dragging those cars along with him, and if he's got a bit more pace than your race leader in clean air, you never know, we could see him work his way forward.
I think Paul Stump has just done Russ Addy a very, very big favour, intentional or not. He's taken the heat off Addy, put the heat back onto McCormack, and they're going to go 2 by 2.
Oh, forget
John
that.
Morgan's going to have a look down the inside in the Acura liveried car, and somehow he makes that work, but then he's going to get his trademark little bit of understeer in the middle of the corner, and then going to try to box out McCormack.
That's crazy how close that is. Oh my goodness. Oh, and actually behind, there's been an instant Stump and Donald Poole. Oh, just when it was looking like they'd all got round safely, this happens.
Yes, into the laces of the boot, they've come undone. So you could say, very, very brave move to go 3 wide there by John Morgan. And then we're going to look at the 979. Just a little bit ambitious on the brakes here, I think.
And then just loses
bit
it
of damage
himself.
for both of them. Donald Poole was just expecting Stump to brake a little bit deeper, but I think after his experience down the back straight there, he was done with going 3 wide, done with going 2 wide. He was just trying to let the other drivers get on with it, and that's caught out Donald Poole.
Well, what this has allowed to happen now, it has allowed Rossetti to pull away. John Morgan's now up into 3rd place. And McCormack's 4th. Stefan Roschen now all of a sudden is in and around there. So, I mean, we still don't know who's going to win this championship. Don't forget McCormack and Morgan, they're both trying to win this championship as well. Paul Stump had an outside chance of winning this championship. So, I mean, that's gone to Heartbreak Hotel for him. But, yeah, still, the top 4, well, top 5 are all championship contenders.
Precisely they are. They're all in mathematical contention, but the way the drop races work, you've got to win one of the 2 races. There's no way you can be the champion after today if you don't win one of the 2 races, pretty much.
We had it so much easier last season, didn't we?
Was there 3 people in mathematical contention, and then one of them had an incident and it was down to 2? We have got to, get the abacus out, get the back of the notebook, get the calculator going. Though it's made somewhat easier by exactly how close they are. If Donald Fitterer wins both races, he's the champion. If Ross Addy wins both races, he's the champion. If anyone could win both races, they would be the champion.
Certainly would. This is brilliant. By the way, we don't want to just concentrate on the front. We've been flicking back and forward from this gaggle of cars back here. But you've got Joel Martin in 8th, Barry Hills, on board with Ragnar Wisloff, almost in the tyres there. Going to come under pressure from Bruce Poole down the inside. But yeah, it's Joel Martin, Barry Hills, Greg Gilman, Bruce Granheim, Ragnar Wisloff, and Bruce Poole. Well, they all were pretty much in the line, but now these 2 have just fallen off the back of that queue. But there's great action down the field that we've got to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, and with such a big field, there's been some drivers having a clean race who've been big movers as well. You got Gerard Florison, who's gained 15, Richard Franco, who's gained 17. So there's some drivers not even in the top 10 who are having a very, very good day so far.
Yeah, it's a day to get yourself some good points scored, because this is a track where you can have big instants, can't you? Especially through the S's, and through no fault of your own.
Gone and jinxed it on the exit of the carousel.
Yeah, certainly have. John Unsby and Richard Franco. Franco, well, he's trying his best to test out the new damage model.
Yeah, indeed, he is. Bits and pieces strewn here and there. We've got problems not there. John Unsby, of course, in yellow and black around the outside of the carousel. Maybe squeezes down, there's a little bit of contact, and that's not Richard Franco's fault there. 2 drivers in front, trade tyre faces, and he gets caught up in it and really, really sheds a lot of there's some carbon fibre on these, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, the tub and the majority of the car is carbon fibre here. For this one, so yes. Oh, car in the background, Bruce Poole, I think that was. Oh, he's ended up in the wall. I thought he'd saved it for a second there.
This is that sort of paved runoff on the exit of turn 1 that you're allowed to use here, and they very much do use, especially in stock car racing. But you jump across the curb, and that's not the greatest for these single-seaters. Turn 1's difficult here. It drops away. There's a curb on the inside. He hooks it, bounces it a little bit over the curb on the outside, and just can't quite catch the slide again. And, well, the right front is a retirement near enough.
Yeah, he's in the pits. They do get a fast repair in this series, so they can get back out there after taking the tour. But yes, some of these drivers have been given the new damage model a bit of a test here today. We have got 22 cars who have not been onto pit road here, so quite a few drivers just finding the limit and then some here in this race.
It's all just a conspiracy to sell fancier CPUs, if you ask me. Battle over third still. John Morgan, Stefan Roastgen, Mike McCormick have let Ross Addy get away a little bit, but it doesn't appear that he's really doing a whole lot to catch Donald Fitterer. In fact, if anything, this pack of three might start catching Ross Addy once again. Stefan Roastgen's not afraid to use much of that runoff at all.
That was heart and mouth moment for Stefan then, because you could hear the engine revs really just bounce off the limiter, and here comes McCormick then to the outside, and that's how strong the slipstream is. He's getting some help there from John Morgan in front as well.
Yeah, that does help him through. Puts Roastgen back into fifth. Puts Mike McCormick up into fourth. Thinking this is going to be Barry Hills, Greg Gilman, Joel Martin and Bruce Granheim. Greg Gilman's the biggest mover of the pack, up 8 places from where he started, and it's looking pretty good inside the top 10 for him. Bruce Granheim in the Bruce Granite coloured car.
Now look at that.
Watches on.
Yeah, look at that in front. Gilman got a little bit loose through the toe of the boot there. It's quite a tricky corner to get right because you can understeer quite a bit. Here, the braking's important. You've got to go a little bit slower than you imagine that you would through the heel, and then back up. And I do agree with you, by the way. This is the worst corner in this track. In fact, if not in North America, because the car just wants to push all the way through that corner.
Yeah, you're coming uphill. It's a little bit blind. It's tight, but not that tight. But how tight is it exactly? Who knows? You turn in, the car wants to understeer until it gets to about the middle of the corner, when then the rear wants to swap ahead, and there's no brake bias or braking point that seems to work perfectly, and it just, whatever you do, you feel like you've done something wrong.
Oh, look at that Granheim. I thought he could get a run, and he has. Joel Martin, getting a bit close between each other, giving each other plenty of space here, though, through the S's. That's crucial, because so many times we've just seen major pile-ups through there in the history of not just sim racing, but also real-world racing as well, because I do remember, I think it was a Porsche race here at Watkins Glen one year, where they had to red flag the race because it was complete track blockage at the top of the S's.
It's happened a dozen times. It's happened in IMSA a couple times as well. It's narrow coming up the hill. The guardrails are close on either side. It's a little bit blind. It's very fast. You always think you can go side by side, but in some cars and some categories you can't. Or maybe you can, but only if you work very, very well together. So all that combines to, yes, a lot of big incidents, big track blockages happen at sort of turns 3, 4, up the top of the S's there sometimes. We were lucky to not see one this time.
So easy race leader, as you can see, 3.8 call it, ahead of Rosadi. And, actually, before I start comparing them, we have had an incident. Joel Martin and Ragnar Wisloff on the inside of that corner. Oh, just careful everybody not to catch him. Seems okay, and he's decided to take the tour back to the pits. We'll try and see what's happened here then. We'll look at Joel Martin ahead of him. Oh, it looks like there's going to be contact ahead. Oh, yeah. Oh, dear. Yeah, that's one way of finishing your race.
Pick up that engine cover. They can use it again. It'll be fine. So here's what it looked like. Up the hill. Again, a difficult corner to get right because you come over that crest, and that's that oversteer that happens late in the corner I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
Joel Martin only recognised it was happening to the car in front a little bit too late.
Yeah, certainly did, and he's found himself back on pit road. has Joel. So unfortunately for us, that means that battle has been broken up. That does promote people like Gerardus Jorison and Franz Brink up the field, so they're getting a bit further up the field as lap traffic getting involved with John Morgan. That's the 52, and that will be Oyvind Anderson, who's just getting out of their way there. But yeah, still McCormick and Rostjan now pretty close together. I was about to compare lap times between Addy and Fitterer, but well, Fitterer's just pulling away even more now.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything to suggest that with 5 laps to go, Ross Addy's really going to be able to catch Donald Fitterer without a miracle. Your top 3, though, still anything could happen. Stefan Rostjan absolutely unfazed by jumping across the curbs in the grass in places. There's a good run up the hill at Mike McCormick. John Morgan almost breaking away from these two, actually, but if McCormick is able to stay in his wheel tracks this time, I think they'll be able to catch a little bit.
You can hear the car bottoming out when we're on board, and Rostjan having to dive back into the slipstream because McCormick was getting that little bit of a slipstream from Morgan in front. Yeah, you can really hear the cars bottoming out as they go through the S's and then down the straight as the downforce builds on these cars. And yeah, as much as you try, because I have raced these cars last season around this venue, no matter what you try, you cannot get rid of the car bottoming out around this track.
Bit low, bit bumpy, bounce, 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 I suppose. It's the result of that, which means you've always got to be prepared for, at any point, the car to just lose about 20% of grip.
Yeah.
If it bottoms out a little bit, you lose some of the grip.
Well, it's worse, especially through the S's as well. Because the car's got a big compression at the bottom of the S's, you're just riding the bottom of the tub across the ground, across the road, so you become a little bit of an unguided missile at that point, really.
Interesting. State of play then. Stefan Rostjan went and grabbed fastest lap of the race at some point with a 1:39.4, but is it really... I don't know, just the positioning or the timing of the runs in the race hasn't helped him. Now John Morgan's under threat from Mike McCormick. This for the podium with a couple laps to go.
This is where you pull the trigger now, isn't it? You've got to this latter stages of the race now. You know where you are in the race, and now you've got to pull the trigger and start going for some moves and try and get those positions off the cars in front. That's what you need to do here.
Yeah, precisely. They've got John Unsby just up the road from them, I think it is. Yeah, indeed it is. He's a lap down to them, but obviously doing about the same speed. And if anything, that's almost been helping John Morgan to defend. Let's see, McCormick just lifts out of the throttle a tiny bit on the way through here. Just wants to stick a car length, 1.5 car lengths behind John Morgan until they get to the exit of turn 1, where you can best make a move and have it stick.
Yeah, this is the best view here because you can see both of the chasees here. Oh, we've got an incident. Kenneth Baldwin and Greg Garris are both in the pits. So something's happened between these two. I saw them stopped on the timing sheet. So what's happened here? Kenneth Baldwin. Oh, it's our favourite corner again. And Greg Garris. Oh, T-bones him.
Certainly does. Not a great place to be sideways. A little bit blind. Difficult to change your line once you're on the way in there. I mean, yeah, you can only half see the other guy, and then there's very, very generous runoff around the outside that maybe at some point Greg Garris should have decided to make use of, but, you know, you've got to make a very, very, very quick call on that one.
Well, as you mentioned, we got a better view than Greg Garris ever had in the car because we were sat on top of the roll bar. Sat down in the car, you wouldn't really see that car across the track until you're halfway around the corner, and then all of a sudden, where do I go?
Right, and we knew what was going to happen. But when you're the driver, you're looking for the braking point. You're trying to judge how the braking is going. You're looking for your turn-in point. You start turning in towards the corner, and then you look up towards the apex. But there's someone there. You just have no time to, do the sums.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, McCormick's back up into third place, although he's run wide through that corner there. And Morgan is all over the back of him. So now, we're coming up to start the penultimate lap here, David. Do you sit... If you're John Morgan, you can't really sit behind because you've got Stefan Rosgen right there with you, who's getting a double draft. So do you go for the place here, or do you sit behind, lift off the throttle, and go for it on the last lap?
Last lap, throw the dive bomb at the corner that shall not be named.
You never know, it might work out. You see, he's just dropped back that little bit, not the best run through turn one, and that's allowed Rosgen to just catch up a little bit here.
You hear the cars bottoming out a little bit as well through there. What are they going to do? They are starting to catch some of those lapped cars. Rosgen's going to have a peak, but he's not close enough to John Morgan. Then very aggressively downhill into the left-hander. You never quite know where to pick up the throttle. McCormick might have done a little early, Rosgen a little late. Was John Morgan Goldilocks on that account? Really got to analyse the chess moves, work out where you want to be on this final lap. If you're going to get a podium, McCormick, Morgan and Stefan Rosgen. Donald Fitterer, though, he knows he's exactly where he wants to be. He's at the lead. He's got a 4-second gap. It's precisely what he needs to do in this final round if he wants to be champion and give him the points lead heading into race 2 and make it very, very difficult for Russ Addy to get him back. So we're all starting the final lap of race 1 from Watkins Glen now.
So these three, we'll focus on these three to start with, and then we'll head to wall. Wow! So that was crucial for McCormick to get past that lap traffic then. That's giving him a little bit of a gap. Joel Martin's been caught out. There's more lap traffic than they're working their way through. And it's really more about Rosgen.
There's under a second for the lead.
Yes! Yes, there is. What's happened? Is Fitterer running out of fuel?
We've actually had that happen in some of the races before. If you've got no draft, no conservation, sometimes you can run out of fuel when everyone else is fine. The gaps come down from a second, half a second. Russ Addy's closing on the final lap. If Addy wins this race, he becomes champion. If Donald Fitterer wins, it goes down to race 2. Wow. Fitterer's lost a lot of time. He's wide here. Can he defend from here until the checkered flag?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a big ask, but these two, if you could trust anybody to give us a good finish, it's these two indeed. But Fitterer, oh, this must be heart and mouth moment now.
Right, the pressure is absolutely piled on both of these guys through the final corners. Race 1 here in the season finale for season 16 of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Fitterer looks like he's stabilised. Looks like he can maybe just make it to the checkered flag. Couple car lengths, it's 0.4 of a second. The checkered flag is ready for him. He wants this to be over, and it is now. Donald Fitterer takes the championship lead and forces the championship decider to the final race of the season. It was nearly heartbreak at the end there, but Fitterer just managed to hold on. Russ Addy could only manage second.
I want to find out what happened at that last lap. It was lap traffic. So he's had lap traffic. He's compromised through turn 1. Oh, there's a spinner in front of him. He slowed right down to avoid that traffic, and that allowed Russ Addy to catch right up. I'll try and get another look at this, but yeah, that was heart in mouth moment, I would say, David.
Right, so he has to throw it down the inside here. so he's not held up. Of course, that puts him on a line he'd rather not, and then the car is sideways, all kinds of smoke, doesn't know which way to go, has to slow down through the smoke.
And of course he's
unlike that
compromised.
movie.
And he's compromised all the way up here to the carousel now, isn't he?
Exactly, that's how quickly the 4-second lead becomes just half a second. But then nerves of steel from that moment on until the checkered flag.
Yeah, so tremendous stuff. We saw some great action out there. We're still waiting for a few cars out there. Donald Poole's one of them. Who's not had a good day out there, especially considering himself and Paul Stump were battling near the front of the field.
Yeah, precisely. So going to be one of the last cars to the checkered flag, and then we'll get you your race results from race 1 here. And a race result that puts Donald Fitterer to the lead of the championship and requires Russ Addy to win race 2 to match the points haul. So Donald Fitterer, your winner. Nearly a heart attack for him on the final lap, but he held on, did the sensible thing, played the percentage game, and Russ Addy could only manage second. Those two then had a little bit of a gap to John Morgan on the podium, ahead of Stefan Roschen, ahead of Mike McCormick. Barry Hills finishes in 6th place. That's a good run. Same for Greg Gilman, who started 17th on the grid. Bruce Granheim started 13th on the grid, finishes 8th. Bob Cohen from 22nd finishes in 9th place. Top 10 is rounded out by Gerhardus Jorison, also from deep in the field, 27th on the grid. Dev Donnelly is 11th, Jack Turner 12th, France Brink in 13th, Michael Bailey in 14th, Richard Coulomb in 15th, Greg Garris 16th, Gerard Flores in 17th, Vince Ball in 18th place, and Kenneth Dummer and Richard Varley round out the top 20.
Yeah, rest of your field then, so it's Kenneth Baldwin ahead of Leroy Coppage. He's a bit further down the field than he normally is in 22nd. Randy Shoemaker, after we saw that incident at the start of the race at the carousel, 23rd ahead of Urs Muller. David Sostella, who got caught up in that incident with Randy Shoemaker, 25th ahead of Ragnar Wisloff, who we saw having an incident at the left-hander back onto the cut layout. Donald Poole, the last car on the lead lap, and then cars one lap down or more: Joel Martin, John Unsby, Richard Franco, who we saw get caught up in the instant party in the incident, Bruce Paul, Douglas Beasley, Lewis Canal, not a good race for him, Robert Earl, Jim Moore, Ivan Anderson, Jerry Kerr, Wally Moresby, Paul Stump, and then Paul Stump, who did not finish, by the way, and Ian Wilson down there with Paolo Bonacera, and Sam Weimiller did not take the start.
Well, that was very, very exciting at the end of 20 laps there. Let's get Russ Addy from 2nd place and see if we can get a word with him. Russ, do you have a copy? Well, he certainly tried to join us. Not hearing anything from Russ Addy, the points leader heading into this round at the moment. Gonna give you one more try here, Russ.
I think we'll take that as he's unable to hear us at the moment, so what it's worth doing is bring in the other interview then, David.
Yeah, one step further down the podium is John Morgan, and hopefully we've got John.
I'm here.
That is delightful news and beautiful music to my ears, but what about your battle all race long for near 20 laps there to get that final step on the podium? We think about Watkins Glen and we think about the classic layout without the chicane. We think about those kind of slipstream battles. Bit of sweat after that one?
Definitely, yeah. It's with the group of guys up front now, it's with the draft track like this, it's almost impossible to get a break. You see a 1 second differential and you're thrilled. But even with this car, 1 second, they will draft back up. It was great racing. Everybody was extremely respectful, and other than my little first corner, I first Randy Schumacher. Yeah, it was a great race.
Yeah, we saw a very ambitious move from you. 3 wide down the back straight there. Was that one of those you miss 100% of the shots you don't take moments? Did you just have to pick that lane down the middle or you wouldn't be able to live with yourself?
Yeah, sort of. It's amazing when you get in that kind of a draft situation. It's really a slingshot, especially even middle. And I could just see the closing speed, and they left the gap. So tight as it was, I figured that was the one chance I had to get in front of some of those.
I guess you still are a racing driver then. What about the championship? And I just mean the season so far. Of course, at RaceSpot, we only get to check in with 3 of the rounds of the season. But the racing, does it look the same when we're not watching as when we are?
Pretty much. I think Donald, who won, I think he's won 5 or 6 races. I think I've won 4. Somebody else has won 4. It's been it's evened up this season, maybe because of the new car, but there's I think honestly 7 or 8 guys that could win on maybe any given week. It's I think the competition among this group just sort of pushes us all to work harder, get faster. And it shows. It's very competitive up front and really all the way through the pack.
Results from race 1 means it's basically between Donald Fitterer and Russ Addy for the championship in race 2. If you find yourself racing wheel to wheel with them, is that going to be on your mind? Or are you going to race them how you've raced them all season?
Pretty much race them the way I've raced them all season, but obviously you will take a little extra caution, if their battle turns out to be for the championship. Yeah, I'm seat in the house, directly behind them. Yeah, it'll be there.
Hearing murmurs, we might also be able to have a word with the second place man, Russ Addy. Are you with us this time, Russ? Oh, fortunately not. Well, John, I want to thank you so much for having a word with us after race 1. Still a chance we might speak to you after race 2, but if we don't, go well, good luck, and I hope you've enjoyed your season.
I have, and thank you guys for the job that you do. We appreciate it. It's a big part of our league, is these free races that you broadcast, so thanks.
Thank you, John Morgan, on your screen right now. Paul, do we give Russ one more chance? Are we those kind of guys?
We might as well try. Hopefully it's not a problem with his microphone, but we'll try again. Russ, do you have a copy? Oh, it's very, very quiet if it is. I think we're going to have to move on, I'm afraid. At this
when
point.
Third time isn't the charm.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have spoken to Russ, though, to get his thoughts there of what he was thinking when you get that last lap and all of a sudden you see your championship rival and race leader right in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, that must have really elevated the heart rate for both first and second. Donald Fitterer thinking it was all going to disappear. Russ Addy seeing a mirage, an illusion, a gift in front of him on the final lap. Might have pinched himself twice for that one. But he's got a lot of work, a lot of focus needed for race 2, and that one is coming up. Donald Fitterer can back it up, or if Russ Addy can take the win, one of those two is going to be the championship. We're going to come back in not too long and bring you coverage of race 2 and crown a 60+ Racing Adventures season champion. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for rejoining us. Thanks for joining us if you're only just joining us at Watkins Glen, the season finale of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Season 16. Well, race 1 through a real spanner in the works of the championship. And Russ Addy lost the points lead to Donald Fitterer and now must win race 2 to be crowned champion and prevent Donald Fitterer from snatching it at the final hurdle. Here's where we are for this championship decider. Watkins Glen, Boot Classic. High speeds, big drafting, quite a bit of pack racing as well, and the weather of course very similar from race 1 to race 2. Basically clear skies, a little bit hot on track. Got to manage the tyres just a little bit. It's David Haynes, Paul Smith alongside me, pressing the buttons. Those buttons controlling Istvan Belov, Track Cams 22. Well, I still think Russ Addy could do it, but Donald Fitter has put himself in a great position. So they're qualifying right now ahead of race 2.
Yeah, qualifying just going on at the moment, so we'll be getting some lap times up on the left-hand side of your screen very shortly, but all eyes really on just really a couple of drivers, being Donald Fitterer and Russ Addy. Russ Addy needs a good qualifying here. He needs to keep himself up in there. By the way, do make sure that you follow us, make sure you subscribe to this channel, to the RaceSpotTV channel, for more action, and of course there's all the usual social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, the Twitch TV as well, and Instagram, so make sure you check us out on all of the social medias. But yeah, Donald Fitterer is out there, Mike McCormack, well that says Paul, but Donald Fitterer to the topping of your standings, top of your standings. But yes, one thing I will say, is not only have we got this championship, the overall championship, but there's also a championship for the over 70s as well, isn't there, David?
Yeah, exactly. This is 60-plus racing adventures, so all of our drivers over the age of 60. Well, there's a census date. Some of them can actually start the season as 59, but you get the point. We've got a sub-championship called the Super 70s. I guess that's just, 60-plus, but, turned up another 10 notches. Leroy Coppedge has absolutely walked away in that category, so he's lost no speed. Pardon me for sneezing. Thankfully, I let go of the button first. Lost absolutely no speed or passion with age. And in a grid this large, he's still in the top 10.
And I certainly approve of his 1991 Jordan 191 livery as well that he's running with here today. I'm older. 30 years ago when he was just a 40 plus. Thank you for reminding me that I remember watching Michael Schumacher's debut race. But anyway, in that livery. But yeah, Leroy Coppedge doing a really good job out there. Now, second lap is usually the quicker lap. Is Donald Fitterer going to go quicker? The answer is yes. Yes, he does.
139.4 is massive. Randy Shoemake goes to second, and then they all get displaced by Stefan Roestgen going to the top of the times. John Morgan now, they are tumbling as everyone completes their second lap. Format being 10 minutes, the drivers do an outlap and then 2 flying laps. And as you say, the second flying lap, normally quite a bit faster than the first one, not just for reasons of confidence, but also for reasons of tyre pressure, even tyre grip. There's just more available.
Yep, as across the line, Rosadi 39.623. So that puts him 5th. It's 1 place better than what he qualified last time out, but again, he'll be really disappointed with that, not to get up there in the front 2 rows.
I think so. He definitely came through a couple spots in race 1 though, but it was all just a little bit too late, and Donald Fitterer had cleared out, said, sayonara, bis später, catch you all later, whatever language. It was just all a little bit too late, and he couldn't close down the little gap that Donald Fitterer had. So maybe the qualifying in that way would have been a little bit more important, maybe a little bit more helpful. It's always hard to know. It's Kenneth Duma on a lap. That is a Hill helmet from the 07. Final corner there, we've seen a couple drivers pick up a little bit of understeer, and there is a tyre bundle and Armco on the outside waiting for you if you push out that way, and Kenneth Duma goes to 14th place. Not quite as many cars for race 2 as we had for race 1. I think if you're Donald Fitterer, you like that. Some of the drivers further up the field might like it, but the drivers in the mid-pack might have liked someone to race.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, there's points down to 34th in this championship. We've got 33 cars in the server. So, as drivers have completed their qualifying laps, so people are just going out there doing laps, and it's interesting to see Rosadi feeling the need to just get some more laps in under his belt. Just these won't count towards qualifying, but it's still interesting to see him out there getting his eye in for the race.
Right, you are. The longer you go on the stint, the more the tyres underneath you are going to feel like what they do in the race, rather than just, first 1 or 2 laps of the race and the qualifying. So if you're going to go long, and then really have underneath you the feel that you can expect for the 20-lap race ahead of us. We're kind of just waiting on time to get called on the session. Most of our drivers have gone and done their laps. There's only 1 or 2 drivers out on track. The rest of them, like us, like yourself, are just waiting for the final race of the championship.
Yeah, the drivers, as I say, just those that are still out there just taking advantage of it. There's only Bob Kern and Rosadi out there just doing laps at the moment, although Bob Kern's pulled over. Now, these drivers, the majority of them will just be getting themselves prepared, ready to go for the start of this final race. And I can't believe that we've made it to the season finale once again here with 60 Plus Racing Adventures, because this season just, I know we only cover 3 weeks of the championship, but the racing action themselves, they just fly by to these races.
Yeah, time is a subjective experience, but 60 Plus Racing Adventures definitely does some weird stuff to it. We check in every now and again, and then in that way, time seems to fly by. One of those cameramen looks like he's on top of like a grain silo in one of those shots.
Well,
Dale Jr. is hiding somewhere.
Yeah, you got to get the best camera shots. There's Barney up on the gantry. I think we've had a change of marshals at the flag marshals, but Barney is still the name. And
it's like the Dread Pirate Roberts, isn't it? You know, it's always whoever it is, he's still Barney.
Yes, exactly. So as time is about to expire here in qualifying, we'll be able to bring you your grid in just a few seconds' time.
Exactly, we will be tick-tock, here comes the grid. And this is how they're going to form up and then roll out for the pace lap and then take the green flag. Pole position is going to be John Morgan. We spoke to him after race 1, and what great luck I've managed to impart upon him so far. Let's hope he can keep that up from the front row alongside Stefan Roastgen. Donald Fitterer and Paul Stump are the next row. Russ Addy, all eyes on him in 5th. He's alongside Ragnar Wisloff, who's made a very good qualifying effort there for 6th place. Randy Shoemake and Mike McCormick, 7th and 8th. Then David Costello, who'll be hoping to keep it cleaner this time. Leroy Coppage in 10th. Greg Garris in 11th. Could also do with a clean race, methinks. And Bob Cohen is in 12th.
13th then for Jack Turner, ahead of Kenneth Doomer from the Team Morgan outfit, 14th place. Bruce Granheim 15th, ahead of Joel Martin in 16th place. 17th for Dev Donnelly, with Barry Hills 18th, with Gerhardus Jorison 19th, and Urs Muller rounding out your 10th row of the grid. Lewis Canal and Doug Beasley, with John Unsby and Bob Kern rounding out 24th.
Slightly slimmer grid for race 2 is rounded out by June Moore in 25th. Richard Varley, Michael Bailey, Oyvind Anderson, Robert Isle, Scotty Gello, Jerry Kerr, Vince Ball, and interestingly, Bruce Poole. No time at the very back of the grid, even with 30 cars. Starting at the very back of the grid is very much tough. You're going to have to dodge someone on lap 1, some stricken car from the back of the grid. I'm sure it's high risk back there.
Yeah, it's but it can be fun. I can tell you that from doing Monday Night Skippies, which we show on RaceSpotTV. Starting at the back of the field and just working your way forward. It's always a bit of fun as the drivers pull away now. So yeah, Jack Turner not taking to the grid, which is interesting here. But yeah, the rest of your field working their way across the line.
Exactly, they are. And soon, green flag will have to be ready at that flag stand, because they do the full pace lap here before we get going. And what a big pace lap it is. We thought that maybe fuel could have been a concern. I'm now thinking it wasn't, but you know, you wind back the memories and there definitely have been 1 or 2 rounds where, was it Road Atlanta, where fuel was maybe just a tiny bit of a concern. If you didn't manage it just a itty little bit, it could come back and bite you.
Yes, we did have a couple of drivers run out of fuel on the last lap there, didn't we? Again, you think back to the races that we did cover here on RaceSpotTV. We've had some crackers, haven't we, over the years? But this new car, it's a relatively new car now. It's been going for a couple of seasons here on iRacing. It's lived up to the old Pro Mazda model, hasn't it? Being able to give us really close, action-packed racing. This car suiting some drivers better than the Pro Mazda. I think it's taken Stefan Rosgen a little bit of time to get acclimatised to the car, but now that multiple time champion, he's right up there challenging for titles again.
Yeah, exactly, he is. The first season with this car really didn't go his way. All kinds of uncharacteristic errors. He just didn't have a feel for it. Now look at him. Good results. He was right in the championship hunt coming into this round. Where was he? Where was Mr. Rosgen? He was third.
Yeah.
8 points adrift, but then Donald Fitter has taken the win in round 1, locked away at least 45 points. And now Stefan Rosgen's not going to be able to assail those points and grab this championship here. But if Addy and Fitterer had had a rubbish first race and he'd finished ahead of them, then he could have been a mathematical threat for the championship. He definitely got very, very close within just a couple points. He can still take a win here, starting from the front row of the grid alongside John Morgan.
Basically, we've got a race for the championship for one driver out there, Russ Addy. That's basically it. Russ Addy needs to win this race to be able to secure a championship. Otherwise, it'll be tough if he finishes second. You never know, though.
Yep, it'll all be revealed in about 20 laps' time. My reading of the numbers suggests that a second place for Russ Addy is not enough. There's the green flag. It's up. It's ready. It's waiting. And now it's waved. And the horsepower springs to life. And John Morgan didn't even wait for it. He wanted to get away, get ahead, get a clean start. And then the rest of the field are going to come across the start-finish line. Stefan Rosgen gets dive-bombed a little bit, but then uses the wide entry to try and carry some speed. And they are together in the background. The runoff for turn 1.
Well, Leroy Coppage was one of those. We've got a car upside down as well. So, multiple accident at the start of this race. We'll try and get a look at what happened there. Leroy Coppage is one of those drivers involved. I didn't quite catch who else. Michael Bailey potentially kind of dumber. Well, that was just Coppage losing it. Oh, and then up and over. Well, that's how that car ended up on its roll loop.
Heard a rumour that ramps might be coming to iRacing. Well, they've gone and made their own. Another case of you see a spun car, you try to work out, do you go left, do you go right, and sometimes that split-second judgment doesn't work. On the live pictures here, though, Stefan Rosgen's gotten the lead away from John Morgan. Must have had a very good run up through the S's. We haven't even got to the end of lap 1 yet. Stefan Rosgen.
Yeah, Rosgen doing
great opening lap so far.
Yeah, doing a good job, but it's not going to be easy because look at that queue of cars behind him, and he seems to be understeering on this opening lap compared to John Morgan. So Rosgen not got the temperature into the tyres yet, all the pressure's up. So he's pushing on and trying his best to get those tyres into where he needs them to be.
And even on this full boot layout, it takes 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps before you really get to the pointy end of the performance. Meanwhile, everyone's staying in his slipstream. He's not going to get away from them easily. Left-hand side there, your gaps, how they run. Who's been a big mover inside of the top 10? Gerhardus Jorison, not bad, up 6 on the opening lap. I think he was right behind where Leroy Coppage and those others were and picked up a couple spots from them. Here's Russ Addy. He needs to win. He's going to go for it. One car with to the inside down the back straight. Russ Addy wants to grab the race lead, and he's going to do it on lap 2.
Wow, I mean, if that's not asserting your authority on that position there, then I don't know what is, because Addy really making himself known to Stefan Rosgen. He wants to get himself the win and to try and run away with it, and he's hoping now that John Morgan holds up these two behind, Rosgen and Fitterer.
Well, when you know what's at stake, I want to say that kind of move, that kind of aggression this early by Russ Addy says that his abacus is reconciled with what's come out from our calculator and the back of the envelope. That was not the lap 2 move of someone who thought that they, were out of this championship.
Yeah, he's trying to pull away as well. You can see the gap on the left-hand side, 0.6 of a second, but you've reached that point of the track now where that slipstream really does start taking effect now. And he's tried to pull away, tried to make a bit of a break. He was hoping, I think, that Rosjan and Morgan would fight a bit more to make things a little bit more favourable for him. But he needs to make that breakaway, does Russ. We saw in race 1 how Donald Fitterer was able to make a break the slipstream, and then just run away at the front.
Got to bust out the old Kelly Clarkson album and break away is what would help him. But, at the moment, it's just a top 4 getting away. And so long as Addy can go wheel to wheel against Morgan, Rostjan and Fitterer and still grab the win, that's okay. What he doesn't want is to be leading a train of 12, 15 cars in this battle around 5th with Ragnar Wisloff. David Costello around the outside and Paul Stump on the inside is helping the top 4 get away a little bit.
Deb Donnelly, I think that car's seen better days. Bit of tea-cut and it'll be fine, but we'll see what's happened to him then. This is at the carousel. From above, I can't quite catch who that is that he's fighting with. But down into the carousel, is it going to be the classic move? Yes, it is. I think that was Lewis Canal. It was.
It's like he, closed it down a little bit, but it almost looked like he turned in, the rear got a little bit loose, and that saw him close down on, I want to say the English-Swiss driver, when you look at what's on the paint scheme there.
That gap was always closing there. I mean, yes, he's moved slightly into that lane. However, Louis needs to recognise that gap is always closing there.
It's a state of play starting lap 4. Ross Addy still leading, but only half a second ahead of John Morgan, who has Stefan Rostjan on his tail, who's just set the fastest lap of the race. Picking up a great slipstream. That is massive speed for Stefan Rostjan, over 250 kilometers an hour. But in the toe of the leader, John Morgan also picks up a lot of speed. Maybe this is what Russ Addy needs to do, is just play those two behind, keep an eye on his mirrors, keep them side by side so they can't get at him.
Yeah, you've got to really sort of work that slipstream, and you give the slipstream to one driver, and then halfway down the straight, as soon as they move out, you then give the slipstream to the other driver, and just work that from the front, and just try and take as much advantage as possible. We've lost David Costello. You see him dropping down the order. Oh dear, what on earth has happened to David here now?
Only caught the end of it, but he ripped the wheel off with a barrier. I want to think there was maybe a little bit of contact. Oh, so easily done there. A little bit of grass. Car backwards into the Armco at the toe of the boot. I've done that. Have you done that before?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think everybody has, yeah, that's what can happen there. The front 4 breaking away from that battle for 5th place. So these front 4 have got the pace here compared to the rest of the field.
Exactly, they do, and they haven't been hurt by 5th, 6th, 7th, or battling each other a little bit. It's been a little more steady up front here. This Donald Fitterer, he's already locked away a win this round. You only carry the points of your best result in the round, so he can't improve his points total. What he can do is get up there, take points away from his rivals. Really, the only rival that remains, Russ Addy at the lead. Fitterer still has him in his sights, but with the feisty Rostjan and Morgan between them, Stefan Rostjan has gotten to second.
Yeah, he certainly has. But Fitterer, you hit the nail on the head there, David. He's got to get ahead of Rosadi. Doesn't matter where Rosadi finishes then. If Fitterer is ahead of him here in this race, then Fitterer will, or should, secure the championship.
Trusting our own
Yeah, this is the back of an envelope mathematics going on here, everybody. So, you know, for official results and final standings, you can check out the 60-plus racing adventures.
If side effects persists, consult your doctor.
They do
Sorry,
have...
you've probably been told that too much lately.
They do have the website, by the way, 60plusracing.com, if you do want to keep up to date with everything post this race. So yeah, that's a place where you can keep up to date with what's happening with the official results after this particular event. But yeah, this battle for the front, this is all about the championship, and really, as much as you want to show other battles out on track, this is the crucial one right here, as Rosjan now going for the race lead.
Exactly, this isn't what Russ Addy needs, but Rosjan wants to go out with a bang. Might even get second in the championship if Rosjan brings home the win here. That'll be interesting to see. Morgan's still in third. Donald Fitterer still very, very patient in fourth. This is where Russ Addy can't afford to lose his head or lose his cool. He needs to stay with this, get that lead back soon.
Well, he's got time on his side, hasn't he? That's, at the end of the day, he's got time on his side. He's still got, what, another 14 laps at the end of this lap to be able to get the win. So as long as he doesn't get involved in any incident and doesn't get embroiled in any shenanigans, then he should be okay out there, Russ, to be able to battle for the lead towards the end of the race.
You don't get to 60 plus by being involved in too many shenanigans too often. Or so I'm told. You're still a while away from that, and I'm even more away from that.
Yeah, thank you.
At the moment.
Thank you for that, for pointing that out, that you're younger. Okay, but yeah, these drivers, they're sort of settled at the moment. This is where you would expect, getting the run out of turn one, this is where Addy then needs to carry the speed up through the S's and go along all the way. Jerry Kerr has had an incident. I think he's just spun it by the looks of things. Oh, and tried to recover, doesn't, spins it around.
By the looks of things, I think he definitely has spun it at that corner. It's just a matter of did it happen earlier or just as we caught it. We're catching it live now. Russ Addy, big draft down the inside, back into the race lead. A little bit predictable. If I'm honest, you really do get, 5, 6, 7, 8 more kilometers an hour following along in the slipstream of someone else, especially up the hill and then along the long straight towards the top of 6th gear.
Yeah, and that's the point. There's a lot of undulation around here. It's easy for me to say. And going uphill towards the carousel, that front car, not only are you pushing the air aside for the others to then draft up behind you, but you're also all going uphill, so you're just lacking that little bit of top power compared to those that are in the slipstream. They're able to get that little bit of extra speed. So that's why I feel that they're getting such an advantage here with that draft, and it shows that, once again, as we said right at the start of the broadcast, slipstream is key around this track.
It's like uphill from Bergwerk towards Bravery Corner.
Yes.
On the Nordschleife. You're going fast, you pick up a big slipstream, but because it's such an uphill, it really just multiplies the effect, because it also helps the car in front sort of stall out earlier, because not only are they, moving all of the air, they're also trying to go up quite a steep hill. And this is the effect in action. Russ Addy, I think he's leaving the inside deliberately open to Stefan Rosjan, hoping to leapfrog a little bit here. Don Fitter and John Morgan are not doing the same. For the third lap in a row in the same place, the lead changes.
I think Addy may have done that because he noticed that there was a bit more of a gap between Morgan and Rosjan at the start of the S's. So he knew that there was that space just to fall into and not really come under pressure from behind. That gap has now closed back up for John Morgan, so it's an interesting cat and mouse affair going on right here, isn't there? It's just it's a high speed game of chess going on between these four drivers, and if anybody can do it, these drivers can certainly do it. As Oyvind Andersen Oh, now that's the worst place to be because you're right on the inside of the carousel there.
Right, he's out of room to go, and he has to tow, of course, because he's in a bit of a blind spot, sort of on the racing line, and with no way to get out of it. I believe Oyvind Anderson may have done it all by himself, regrettably. Can take a look.
It's so easy. You just carry too much speed. Yeah, he's lost it coming in just for the turn-in.
Yeah, you're going over a crest right at the point of turn-in as well there, and I think he's, if you're turning a little bit earlier or a little bit later, that was so close.
Yes, that was really close. I think he's regretting going forward rather than reversing out the way onto the outside. But yeah, there he is, back on pit road. He took the tow, so decided against things. There you go, front two, swapping positions, and they have got lap traffic ahead of them now. I believe that's the 697 of Lewis Canal.
Could be. We'll see how that plays into it. Addy and Roaston really look like working together. Not by design, I don't think, but by circumstances and a little bit of mutual understanding. Oh, look at the blimp up there. Doing such a good job. That's wide. Wide through the toe, though, from Addy, and this is really going to help Morgan and Fitterer get close as well. And when third and fourth are right on their gearboxes, that's when it's harder for first and second to just swap around.
Yeah, it's you've got to think carefully about what moves you make, because all of a sudden it's not just you two, it's the two behind you as well that are going to come into play here. And look at that, there you go, Canal just in front of them. Should keep it nice and clean out the way. John Unsby's had an incident, I believe. He's back up and running. So he's fine. Yep, Canal going to the inside, keeping out the way of the leaders. That's nice to see. Allowing the championship contenders to carry on with this battle.
Yep, seasoned competitor knows exactly what's going on when he sees it happening, and knows how to get out of the way, stay out of the way. The run through turn one, it's just again put a bit of a gap between first and second, and third and fourth. Stefan Roaston doing what's Ross Addy doing, and also critically, what is Mike McCormick doing?
He's had an incident at turn one. We're going to have a look at this one because something has gone wrong for him. He was battling with Stump. We'll get back to that race lead battle in a moment, but into turn one, what's happened to him then? So he's got caught out. Whoa! Well held! My goodness. I want to get an onboard of that. That's it. That's incredible.
So it all starts here on the exit of turn one. He's carrying a lot of steering lock as he jumps across the curb. The rear steps out, but he realizes when he's not going to be able to save it, just stamps on the brakes, locks all four tires up, and that stops the rotation. That gets the car going, with a little bit of angle on, but continuing in a straight line, doesn't let the rear overtake it. And once he, settled it down a little bit, then he let off the brake, got going again. So that is know when to hold him, know when to fold him.
But those tyres are going to feel awful, the amount of heat that he's just put through them there by locking up. Sliding is bad enough for putting the heat into the tyres, and these tyres are heat affected as well. So they will feel a little bit worse for a little while. You can recover them though. With this tyre model here on iRacing, you can recover those tyres to a degree. But yeah, that will not feel pleasant for him. It'll be very understeery and very oversteery on power.
Very greasy, very slick is how they're going to feel, unless he cools them down a little bit. We weren't watching, but Roaston leapfrogged in front of Addy. Now we are watching. Addy looks like he's going to leapfrog Roaston, so there they go. John Morgan. For the man who went 3 wide to try and grab the race lead last race, I don't know, maybe he's used all of his bravery for the day.
But now's not the time to do that though. You've still got 10 laps to go, you've got half of the race still to go here. So it's not the time and the place to do it. When you're getting into that last third of the race, or last quarter of the race, that's when you start pulling those more challenging decisions and those moves out. But you did ask him, didn't you? If you're racing the two, the contenders here, are you going to race them normally, or are you going to just basically allow them to have their own race? So he answered us and said he was going to he was going to be very conscious of their race, but he still wants to get a good result out of this one.
At the moment, he's in the middle of the sandwich. Russ Addy is leading it, and Donald Fitterer is the caboose on the 4-car train. As Barney Mark II, new and improved for holiday season 2020, watches over them. Russ Addy's got quite a bit to Stefan Roestgen. Might not actually leapfrog back this time. We'll see, and I'll keep an eye on the speeds between the leader and those in the tow.
Well, I can tell you right now that Roestgen is actually a bit further behind, and he's more concentrating on the car behind than in front of him. I mean, he is getting the draft, but he's not close enough to make any moves this lap, so he was focusing, as I am here, looking back. So no moves made this time, but look at the different lines taken between the three drivers there. Roestgen just allowing the car to drift out a lot earlier than Morgan behind, and oh, that's a little mistake on the exit of the chute.
Yep, laces of the boot towards the toe. He just didn't pick up the speed. Car washed out a little bit in the downhill corner. He settles it all again through the uphill turn. It's John Morgan just breathing down his neck here. Morgan didn't quite know what to do, and again, rear steps out. Roestgen has to correct. Washes off quite a bit of the speed. Probably put a bit of heat through the tyres as well, and you keep doing that, the heat keeps building up. And you're digging yourself a deeper hole. Still with 9, soon to be 8 laps to go.
Addy needs to take advantage of this lap and pull away. He has pulled away a little bit over Stefan, but right now Roestgen's got a good run out that final corner, and he's still in that slipstream, just like John Morgan, just like Donald Fitterer.
Top speeds for Addy leading. Last lap looked like about 245 kilometers an hour. Looked like Roestgen got 253, 254. So there is quite a bit of speed to be found, particularly as you can see in 5th gear, in 6th gear, right on board with John Morgan. Bottom of the hill, he's a second back from the leader. I think by the top of the hill, it's going to be much, much less than that. It's already down to 4/10.
Yeah, but look how he decided to not try and follow Stefan Roestgen, who was weaving around a little bit, and just decided to stay in his lane halfway down to start that back straight. So no moves made just here for John Morgan. This is a really intriguing battle. But look at that now. Roestgen right back with Rosadi. So yeah, he made a couple of mistakes on that last lap. He's right back there once again with your race leader.
Yeah, precisely. More things change, the more they stay the same for our top 4. Kind of looked like this on lap 2. Kind of looks like it now. But it's chopped and changed a little bit. They're starting to get a bit feisty. Also a battle for 6th place. Scandinavian and 2 Texans walking into a bar. I'm not sure what the punchline is, but they're battling over 6th.
Yeah, they certainly are. You've been seeing it on the left-hand side of the screen with our timing tower there. The way they've been changing pretty much every lap. So we'll have to look at that battle at some point. Right now, though, Rosadi at the front, and I think that they're going to have these two switch positions this lap. Up the start, finish straight. Look at how close Randy Shoemake and Whisloff got to Louis Canal. Then down the start and finish straight. Oh my goodness, there's a spinner. It's Greg Garris.
Yeah, it is. He doesn't get collected this time that I can tell. He's going to get going, but he's lost quite a bit of time there. I'd gotten spooked by what happened down to pit straight. Here's what it looked like. Have they got a lapped car in there? I think they did.
It's Canal.
And I think Shoemake squeezed between Whisloff and the lapped car to get down the inside of turn 1. And then, Garris came in a little bit too hot. And again, that's one of those corners where it drops away right as you're turning into turn 1. You turn in at the wrong time, the rear is going to let go.
I would have preferred him to hold the brakes to a degree there as he was going backwards, but he's back up and running. He's just taken a little bit of a trip across the grass as well. Change for your lead, by the way. Rosadi down to second, Stefan Roestgen up to the lead now. So that battle has changed once again, and John Morgan's looking very feisty now.
A little more so, that's for sure. Addy does not want or need to be under this kind of pressure. He's about to cross the line to make it 6 laps to go. We really are getting to the crunch time of this championship. Roastgen, what is he doing breaking the toe? And Russ Addy, what is he doing not following it?
I think Russ is just trying to run his own race to a degree. Because if you're too busy chasing the draft there, especially down to turn 1, it's not got the biggest effect down towards turn 1. Up here, through the S's, and then along up towards the carousel, this is where it has the biggest effect. So this is where you go chasing that draft. And now you look at him, he's following. He wants to follow the draft of your race leader. Paul Stump, I mean poor old Paul Stump, on his own in 5th place. He can see them in the distance and he's got nobody behind him either. It's all on his own.
Yeah, he's cycling against the wind, he's swimming upstream. Whatever you want to call it, he is a little bit adrift of the top 4 with quite a bit of a gap to 6th as well. Just not able to move forward, but probably not so worried about a top 5. Here's some of the battles deeper in the pack. Gerhardus Jorison for 11th. He's got Joel Martin down the inside. Barry Hills for company as well.
Battle between these 3 here. As they all held there, Jorison. Rias just did not want to behave, and that's something that can happen through the tour there. Even though it is a cambered corner in your favour, you can just get on the power a little bit too early, and the back end just does not want to cooperate.
No sir, so here's your top 4 once again. As the laps tick down, Russ Addy's close to where he needs to be. Still keeping the pressure on Roastgen, closer than he was a lap ago. Roastgen definitely trying to break away. Russ Addy needs the win. He needs the 45 points. He had only 3 points lead coming into today. His main rival, Don Fitterer, has already taken a win. So Addy needs to fight back, and he's going to fight back by going around the outside, taking the lead of the race away from Roastgen.
I'm just trying to sit here and work out the difference. I mean, he lost out 9 points on that last lap, on that last race, did Russ, compared to Donald Fitterer. So that means that potentially Fitterer has a 6-point advantage here that Addy can get back if he finishes in 1st place.
Remember the drop races though, because 45 points going to get added to Donald Fitterer, whatever. He can't improve that. No. He can't get more in this race.
But basically Addy needs to win just to assure that he wins the championship.
Yeah, I don't think 2nd place is good enough. Or more traffic for them. There was one on the inside of the laces
That's
in the
John
boot
Unsby.
of the track as well.
Good grief, look at the damage to John Unsby's car. He's doing a Gilles Villeneuve and dragging he's lost the tyre completely now as John, but he's managed to get it back to the pits.
He's Addy under all sorts of pressure. Roastgen, I think, just pulls out of it a little bit so he can then get back into the toe and get some speed. Don't really actually want to go side by side that early because then they'd so much make themselves vulnerable to John Morgan, and they're not going to leave him a car's width to split the sandwich this time.
Yeah, Russ Addy, you saw him just move across a little bit, partly to get a little bit of side draft from Stefan, but also not to give that space to John Morgan behind. This is a really intriguing battle at the front. Oh, as Roastgen runs wide, Addy's going to go ahead, and John Morgan's going to try to take advantage, but he can't.
Roastgen slots back into 2nd, and there's nothing to separate your top 4. This is pressure and pressure and pressure on Russ Addy at the moment. He hasn't really cracked yet.
But this is what we wanted to see, isn't it? This is what we wanted to happen in this finale. For it to come down to the end of the championship, to the second race of the of this final round. We couldn't ask for more here, David.
Right, we didn't want anyone to have it easy, anyone to run away with it, or it to be a completely foregone conclusion, or seasons past where it's all kind of wrapped up, 2 rounds to go. No, it all comes down to the final lap, to the final race, and nothing in it whatsoever. We saw the crazy stuff that can happen even on the last lap of a race. This is the deluxe treatment. This is the works package of a title decider.
I have a question for you. What do you do if you're Donald Fitterer? Because he's backing out of it right now. He's content finishing here at the moment, at least at this point of the race. 3 laps to go. When do you make the moves next lap? Do you start moving forward next lap?
You could take the 1994 in Adelaide route to secure your championship. I'm not sure we want to see
the
that.
The 1990 Japanese Grand Prix route to the championship as well. Let's not forget that.
Yes, that way. So, but what else would you do other than that?
No, but you still want to try
third,
and do it
get to
fairly.
second, then get to first.
Yeah, you want to try and get forward as Roschen's looking at Addy. That's going to hold back Morgan and Fitterer a little bit here. But yeah, if you're Fitterer, you want to start moving forward, because at the end of the day, you can do everything you can by finishing ahead of Russ Addy. That's all you can do if you're Donald Fitterer right now. Take away points from Addy.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that coming towards this race as well. There's no way that Fitterer can improve his points haul from this round. He's already bagged the best possible result, the W, the win, the first place in race 1. What he's got to worry about is how many points can Russ Addy get. Where Russ Addy is sitting right now, it's enough points to carry that 3-point lead that he had coming into this round, square off, equal it with Donald Fitterer in their points from this round, and that would leave Addy ahead. There's a couple of kilometers and a couple of cars that say that is not a foregone conclusion, that is not guaranteed, that you can't lock it in yet, Eddie.
Look at that Roschen, just because he pulled out the slipstream so early, I think he might have even backed out of it slightly, and that allowed Addy to stay ahead. And Addy right now is probably sat there thinking, well, yes, I want to be in the lead, but not at the start of the final lap going up to the carousel. So he's trying to hope now that the traffic that they're catching up to, which is the 199 of Jerry Kerr, he's hoping that he's got enough pace to be able to get in a position so that when they're coming up the back straight, he can get a slipstream as race leader from that back mark of traffic.
Very, very tense for your 2 championship rivals in the lead pack. Coming towards 1 lap to go, and then the wild cards, the jokers in the pack, Stefan Roschen and John Morgan, both of whom we anticipate probably will just want to get the best result for themselves. So the white flag will be ready for them to start the final lap this time. You're absolutely right, Russ Addy wants the draft, but Jerry Kerr's not going to give it to them. They start the final lap of the season in 60-plus racing adventures. Russ Addy leads.
Oh my goodness! I think that was Robert Earl.
Spooked Paul Smith. It didn't spook Russ Addy or Stefan Roschen. What's Roschen going to do? It's an interesting distance. He is back from the leader. He'll be closing, but will he be close enough towards the carousel? If Addy can lead into this corner, he might have a hope.
Forget about the lead. It's second place here. Morgan to the outside. He wants second place, and Addy's rubbing his hands going, yes, yes, fight away, lads.
You'd see that in your mirror. You'd feel some amount of relief, and then you'd stop looking in your mirrors and just look forward. Roschen wants second. Morgan wants to improve where he finished last race, so he can probably come back in and tell us what a great improvement he managed. And Fitterer, I think he thinks he's got it, but I don't think he does.
Wow. We'll have to wait and see. Just a few more corners to go here, David. Stefan Rosjan wants that second place back, though. You could tell by his body language.
Yeah, the car placement, he's looking here, looking there, trying to just spook John Morgan, but you imagine, by the time they come towards the final two corners, it's too late. Russ Addy led the points coming into this round. He's gonna grab a win as it stands in the final race. My numbers say that should be enough. I believe Russ Addy taking the checkered flag in the win here makes him your season champion in 60 plus racing adventures. We wait for that one to be confirmed. He's joined on the podium by John Morgan and Stefan Rosjan.
As Muller's had an incident on this last lap. Don't know what's happened to him here. We'll have a look and see if we can find out for you. But yeah, Russ Addy taking the win, and as we say, our math says that he's the champion. So congratulations to Russ. I think there was an incident in front, yeah, and that was us just trying to get out the way. And I think he's got stuck. He has. Oh no, us.
He's ended up on the curb. You said that they're low and they scrape along the ground, and that curb has just been too much to ask, and he hasn't been able to get traffic to unbeach himself. Here's your final cars on the lead lap, taking the checkered flag so that we can get some official classified results from race 2 once everyone's finished, and that finalises the order.
Good to see the National Guard livery here on Richard Varley coming across the line. Good support of the National Guard there across the line then, and he is the last of your cars on the track.
And that leads us to the finishing order that sees Russ Addy win, and I think win big there. John Morgan in second. That one, of course, still to be confirmed championship-wise, but these race results are accurate with Stefan Rosjan in third. Donald Fitterer finishing fourth from the lead pack. Paul Stump, adrift at sea in no man's land, still finishes in the top 5, ahead of Randy Shoemake, Ragnar Wisloff, Mike McCormick, Bob Cohen, and Bruce Granheim.
John Martin then 11th place in the end, ahead of Barry Hills. Jack Turner, now that must have been a close finish between him. In fact, Jack Turner, I don't know what's happened there, but he's showing his 33rd, even though he's there in the middle of our results page there. So I think something's gone awry. Let's hope and see if we can try and fix that for you. There you go. Now we've got it. So it's Greg Garrison 13th, ahead of Bob Kern. Gerhardus Jorison 15th, ahead of Douglas Beasley, with Bruce Poole, Vince Ball, Richard Varley, and Gene Moore. And the rest of your standings up on screen right now. Us Miller then in 21st with Jerry Kerr. Robert Ahl, who we saw on the inside of turn 1, gave me a bit of a fright, ahead of Louis Canal. John Unsby, Kenneth Dummer, Michael Bailey, Scotty Geller, and then drivers who did not finish: Oyvind Anderson, David Costello, Dev Donnelly, Leroy Coppage, and Jack Turner there again. Again, his name mentioned twice, but did not finish the race.
Well, we didn't have any luck with him after race 1, but he's had a lot of luck in race 2, and let's hope that rubs off with the interview as well. Russ Addy, I've got everything crossed. Do you have us? Well, I'm good, but I have to imagine you might be doing a little bit better. Race 2 winner, and all of our back of the envelope numbers, tell us your reading on this as well, says that you are the season 16 champion.
I'm not sure. I think Donald may have gotten me. It was a close battle this season. There's so many guys that can win and just are in the hunt every week. It's great.
Official standings had you leading by 3 points coming into this round. You took a win. Donald Fitterer took a win. How would he get enough points to overtake you?
I think there's drop races, so I don't know. My teammate Randy is sharp on the numbers, and I think he has it down that Donald got it. So we'll see. Whatever
the circumstances, you went out on quite a high here. do you have enough fingers and toes to count how many times you may have swapped the lead with Stefan Roestjen?
It felt like every lap. I mean, that's the good thing about those guys up front, John and Stefan. They're so clean. You can count on letting them slide by and not getting in trouble.
And of course, now a season or two under our belt with the Indy Pro 2000 car, the PM18. How have you been finding it? You've obviously adjusted to it maybe better than some others.
Yeah, I like the car a lot. People like Stefan are really coming on strong. So that's the thing, is every week there's probably 8 or 10 guys that could win. And it just depends on where you are and who you're up against. Little mistakes here and there are really the key, I think.
How do you find track conditions? I think at both races, the track got hotter, maybe slipperier as the races went on. Did you notice much tyre drop-off, track state change, or is it 20 flat-out laps?
It's 20 flat-out laps. I didn't really notice much difference along the way. It's just your nerves build up as you get toward the end, so it feels like it's getting slipperier maybe.
Maybe the sensors lie to you a little bit. Well, congratulations, grabbing a win here in the final race of the season. What an exciting season for you, for Donald Fitterer, for others. Anyone you want to thank?
Well, yeah, my teammate Randy Shoemake, he and I have a good time together. We do a lot of endurance racing too, and of course my race team, TNT Racing, with GTR Simulator, Allenberg Racing Schools, and just the guys in the rest of the series. Joel and all the admins do a fantastic job, and of course I want to thank you, Paul and David, for broadcasting.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the season. Hope we see you again in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh yeah, hope I'm here and able to talk to you. We'll see.
That's the goal, that's the dream. Fingers crossed on that one. Let's move down the podium a little bit further to second place, where Paul Smith paired you up with John Morgan.
Well, here we are again then, John. Another race, another podium, this time one step further up. Just talk us through that, because that front pack, the four of you, moved away from the rest of the field, and then you were just swapping positions. You seem to be just maybe sitting back a little bit throughout that race.
Yes, I thought it might be wiser to watch Russ and Stefan sort of wear each other out and try to set myself up for that last lap, because I knew if you go before the last lap, somebody's going to have a run at you.
Well, that's it. We were watching from overhead at one point, and we saw Stefan and Russ switching positions, and you looked to be having a bit of a run on them, and then Russ just seemed to come across just to shut that lane down the middle there. We thought we were going to get the John Morgan special again, but we've touched on it. Tremendous racing as always here in this series, and yourself. You had a really good championship. You came into this week in 4th place. You must be pleased with how the season has gone.
Oh yeah, it's been probably my best season so far. I've really taken to this new Pro Mazda car. It suits me, I guess, a little bit better than the old one, and just worked harder. It's just this league. I'm sure, like a lot of leagues, with guys that run together week after week, everybody gets faster, and it takes a little bit more work every week to keep up with that front group. So it's just a great group of guys, and you saw the respect that everybody had in that front four, battling and out of touch. So that's what we really like.
And that's a key word that you used there, the respect between the lot of you. There's nobody out here that really, from our point of view, nobody really has an ego that thinks that they're so much better. Everyone just does it for the love of the sport, the love of sim racing, and it's great that we can bring this series to an audience 3 times a season. It's wonderful racing as always.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. It really is. These guys, the passion for this is there, and it shows. And the respect that comes from that shows. And it's really what makes the league great. And all the way back through the field, we see that there's just great racing all the way through the field. When I go back and look at some of the replays, it's a great group.
It certainly is. We'll let you get off, but before we do, is there anyone you want to once again, whilst you're in here, a quick mention to here?
Well, yeah, certainly Joel, and the guy who really runs this thing and sort of keeps us on the right path, and Mark Leeson and Richard Colomb, who do a lot of work, put the league on. So those guys and you guys we think you're the best. That's why we use you, and we appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you allowing us to broadcast this series, John. As always, lovely to speak to you, and have a nice week off.
You too, Paul.
Let's keep going. See if we can grab third on the podium. Stefan Roastgen, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Nice to meet you guys.
Always a pleasure to have you. I think we've missed you a little bit in recent seasons, but you've really found your swing now in this new car.
Yeah, it's getting better and better. At the beginning, I didn't much practice, so I was around 10th place and stuff, and now I've practiced a little bit more, and it's getting better and better, and I've learned to use the throttle.
There we go. You can teach old dogs new tricks. You've really come up to speed, and you had a great little battle back and forth with Russ Addy in this one.
That's what racing is about. It was a fun.
There was definitely a little bit of, chess moves, a bit of strategy, and, when you follow in the slipstream, when you pull out. What were you doing through the race?
I mean, if you want to do some strategy, you have to see that you are in second place on the last lap, and I was there, but at that lap, Russ was too far ahead. No, I was not there. I don't know what happened exactly, but I was just trying to overtake when it's possible in order to give the next guy a chance to make a mistake, but didn't happen.
It seemed like everyone for all 20 laps in the top 4 group was just too good.
Yeah, the level of the guys has improved a lot. I think we have 5 or 6 guys who can run within the 10s. So the competition is very hard. If you make the slightest mistakes in practice, and it's very difficult to close up it during the race.
Well done on third place. You were just a couple points away from the championship come the end of this season. Maybe you can have another tilt at adding maybe another trophy to the cabinet next season.
I have enough for the moment. But let's see what next season gives us. But I understand Donald is practicing a lot, and so it.
Yeah, no shortage of competition, no shortage of opposition, but I think that's what keeps all of you drivers coming back for this league every race, every season.
Not only this, it's also that we are a good bunch of guys, and it's fun to race with these, and some sort of camaraderie, and that's a good thing.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for coming to speak to us at the end of the season. Any final parting words from you, Stefan?
Yeah, thanks, David, and RaceSpotTV for all the good shows, and thank you to all the admins who do a fantastic job season to season. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Now, final person for us to have a word with is Donald Fitterer, winner of race 1. We didn't speak to him after that I can remember, but Smart Money says that we need to say congratulations, season champion Donald Fitterer. Is that your understanding as well?
I believe that's true. I'm hoping it's true.
Always a little complicated with dropped races, dropped rounds. Really rewards the drivers who can, get to the front, win races, win a couple races in a season. And I think when you grab that win in race 1, I think at least Randy Shoemake thought that was enough. Can you tell us about both races, today?
Well, the first race, I have lucky enough to get past Paul at the beginning, and then Mike McCormick, my teammate, did a great job on the straightaways, just kind of making it difficult to get by and gave me enough of a gap to stay ahead the whole race. And I missed a spin right in front of me on the last lap, and Russ got within a second, but I held him off for the win there. And then the next race, I was pretty sure I had it, and I didn't want to take a chance of messing up Stefan or John and where they were going to place in the championship, so I just kind of held back and was hoping if they made a mistake, then I would profit by it.
My reading of the Hall of Fame also says that this is your first road championship in 60-plus racing adventures. That must be a hell of a feeling.
Very unexpected. I didn't think I had a chance until a few weeks ago, and I got a couple firsts, and my teammate Mike said, hey, you've got a chance for the championship. So I started doing both races after that.
Really lit the fire underneath your ambitions a little bit, potentially there. Stefan Rostion, multiple-time champion, also speaking, very, very well of you. I think in all the several seasons we've been broadcasting this, watching it, there's a lot of familiar names, a lot of new names coming along. It doesn't look like the competitiveness of the championship is at all waning whatsoever. If anything, probably more competitive the longer we've gone on.
Certainly from what I've seen. Second place was going to be decided in this race as well as first, and people were very close in the amount of points we had at the end.
If you've got a marketing hat to put it on now. Anyone tuning into this broadcast who's thinking, what 60-plus racing adventures? I've never heard of a concept like that. That's me. What would you tell them to get involved? What would you say?
I'd say it's a great group of guys. We're pretty competitive, even though we're older. One thing I'd like to say is a shout out to Julian Dunn with VRS. He's done a lot to help me get to where I am today. And we have clean racing, and if you're over 60, come join us.
Good news is more people turn 60 every day of the year and might come join you. Show that sim racing and iRacing is not just for the kids, for everyone, all levels of racing passion. Donald Fitterer, I want to say congratulations to you on your race 1 win. And whether you're champion or not, I guess are led to believe now that you are. You really, really brought it all the way down to the wire, put on a great championship season. Congratulations on that. Any final thanks to give on our last broadcast of the season?
Well, certainly Joel needs to get a shout out, because without him, we wouldn't have this league. It's amazing what the work he's done in his team. And I just appreciate every day that we're able to do this. And thanks for broadcasting.
It's been a delight. It's been a pleasure. Thank you once again for making the time to join us, share your thoughts with us, Donald Fitterer, as we wrap up coverage now. What's been an amazing season, an amazing race day today in 60-plus racing adventures. We were never short of action or excitement across either race today, I think, Paul.
Yeah, we certainly had plenty of excitement. The slipstream was king around here, as we expected, and we saw a couple of incidents, but nothing unsavoury or anything, just mistakes that happened out there. But overall, quality of the driving was excellent, and it was an intriguing battle to the end for the championship. Rosati getting that win at the end there, just not enough to take away the championship from what we have been led to believe. Of course, do keep up to date with everything that goes on with 60-plus racing adventures. That's 60plusracing.com. That's the number 60 at the start of that. 60plusracing.com to keep up to date with everything and to find out what the final championship standings were.
You talk about close, you talk about too close to call, and maybe it was too close for us to call in the championship standings. Many drivers who put on a great show, a great consistent results all season long. High water marks of more than 45 cars This league continues to get more and more popular, more competitive, but the heart, the attitude has not changed. So it's been a delight for us to broadcast it here on RaceSpotTV. I've been David Haynes. It's been Paul Smith with me. The Istvan Bello Track Cams 22 on RaceSpotTV. We've got plenty of broadcasts coming up, so follow us on our social media, subscribe to us here on YouTube or wherever you watch, and we will see you for next season of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Hopefully, we'll also see you for all manner of sim racing action throughout the week, all of it coming up. Thanks and goodbye, good afternoon, good night.